SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man, E. How are you doing today?
Hey, Bob, I'm doing well, and hopefully everybody out there in SimWorld is too.
Absolutely. Well, this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I'm the Fat Man. This is the podcast. We talk about whatever we want. Today, I guess we're going to continue our path down the breakdown and predictions of the different regions of SimWorld Prep Season 2. Last week we talked about the Intercontinental region, and this week we're going to go with the Southern region. On paper, actually, you know what? E, you go ahead and you tell me, do you have a favorite in the Southern region, or favorites? Like last week I had a couple where I was like, there's a couple that could go. It could go either way. What's the Southern region look like for you?
Well, Bob, I'm going to give you a slightly different answer than what you asked for, because I kind of have like 7 favorites in the Southern region. I think the Southern region is pretty loaded this time around. There's a lot of teams there I like.
So you tell us, who don't you like? Who don't you like then? Let's just get that out of the way.
Exactly. There's 7 teams I like, and there's an 8-team region. So, that does leave somebody out, doesn't it? The team that's getting left out of my sort of love column, the one team, the really only team in the entire Southern region that I have a lot of question marks and some worry for, are the AT Aliens.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, of course, there's players and things about this team that I like. I'm a big Royce Anderson fan.
There are bodies on that team.
Yeah, there are, and some of them can play basketball, no doubt about it. No, seriously, I'm a big Royce Anderson fan, have been since he was playing on the West Coast last year. Like that he's come back home. Well, he's a Florida kid, but close enough to home. Bevinson Patches, liked what I saw him do last year. Adam Mahmoud is one of the best shooters in this game, probably, and a newcomer, Willie Stiles from Valdosta, Georgia. I really like him, actually. I think he's going to be a player. I think that ATL there's a hole in the middle of their donut, and it's right in the inside, in the interior.
Those are my favorite kinds of donuts, though.
They're pretty good that way, but in basketball terms, look. Here's what the thing is. Richard Alpine probably starts for them at the center. Yeah. He's 6'8", 240. He can shoot a little bit. Probably backed up by Jamichael Guzman. We've seen him play a little bit. Decent defender. And there's a newcomer, a 16-year-old, 6'9", Orion Toomey. None of these guys are particularly athletic. Just even looking at the other teams just in the Southern region, and, you've got those big bruisers at Southeast Collect, Keandre Baldridge. You got Corey Yams roaming around down here. You got Arthur Lattimore. I have real questions about if in the interior ATL can hang with what the rest of this region can put up night after night. So as good as some of their wing players are, and proven's another important word here, as proven as some of their perimeter guys are, I have some question marks about Coach Wood's ATL squad here. And for that reason, if I had to pick an 8th place team, and somebody has to be 8th place in this region, right now, AT Aliens get my nod for that last place spot.
So I'm gonna kind of disagree with you, but it's gonna be barely. I do think that there are 2 clear teams in the Southern region that are gonna be in the bottom. AT Aliens is one of them. I don't know if they necessarily did it. This is gonna be a lot of, I don't know if they did enough to do anything with my 2 teams that I have. Obviously, Royce Anderson, I think he's gonna be an offensive star for the AT Aliens. He is going to be the guy. Obviously, you have Mahmoud, you have Patches. They're going to get up their shots.
They'll shoot.
Yep. But I don't know if Timothy Brown and Trayvon Patrick, I don't know if they're going to be enough. Like you said, Alpine, their biggest guy, Alpine, 6'8", weight-wise, 6'8", 240. They have Toomey, 6'9", 219. They're big, but you mentioned Southeast Select. They have 37 6'10" guys again. It's just right. They don't. They do have a 7-footer and 2 6'10" guys though. Anyways,
but these Georgia bigs, in addition to the fact that they're just they're not giant by SimWorld Hoops standards, there's also the problem that they're just not they're just not amazing athletes.
Yeah.
They're really not an athletic front court. Like these guys wouldn't be, playing football or volleyball or something. Probably. Well, maybe volleyball because height helps for that too. But you get my point.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
just not jump out of the gym athletes.
Yeah. Well, so right now I will put the AT Aliens. I think they'll finish 7th. I believe that the Gulf Coast Lockdown has not done enough at all to even be in the conversation of getting out of 8th place. Like I think they're for me right now. They are locked down as my 8th place team because again, they have some solid players. Kai Killens is going to be a really good player. Carson Cutbirth, he's going to be an all right player. I think that the losses to the additions, I don't see that they really did much. They brought in Avery Cooks, pulley horse. I mean, he is a horse. He's 6'8", 237. But
he is big kid.
Cyrus Jackson, Akio Kasai, Lane O'Neal, like they brought all these players in, but nobody that is necessarily outside of Kai Killens that I don't think they can really. They're not going to be able to do much offensively. I think this is going to be one of the worst offensive teams in all of SimWorld Prep. I think that Kai Killens is going to be the star of this team alongside Deontay Joyce. I do think Joyce is a very solid player, 6'10", 195. I do believe that he's a good athlete. But I do think Kai Killens is going to be the star of this team. But I think that the youth on this team, I mean, they have one 17-year-old. They have 3 15-year-olds. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. And I could see in Season 3 them making a big jump. But right now, there's going to be a huge learning curve for them. And there's not a lot of, there just wasn't any star power. Like when I'm saying star, like the top loans, we'll talk about them. I know we're obviously going to talk about Lone Star brought in Arthur Lattimore. There was no Arthur Lattimore brought in for Gulf Coast Lockdown. And I think that's going to hurt them this season with all the youth that they have.
I will see. I mean, I can't disagree with you on that youth point. This is the super young team, maybe the youngest team in all of SimWorld Season 2, with only Deontay Joyce being a 17-year-old, kind of being the lone upperclassman, the big man from Mississippi on this squad. But I'm not as down as Gulf Coast as you are. I would agree that their arrow is pointing up more for like Season 3 and down the line. This year is going to be a little bit about weaving the new players together and getting bigger, getting stronger, playing, and improving across the board. But, I like the kind of core trio they have here. Carson Cutbirth running the thing at point. Kai Killens as a guard wing, talented player out of Texas, and then Joyce anchoring things in the middle. And you've got some players to kind of build around here too. Ezekiel Bull is another. He, unlike the Georgia boys we were just talking about, Bull is an athlete out there in a 6'9", 230-pound frame too, which is something that you can also say for the other Louisianan on this lineup, and that's Milo Legault. Who is a good post defender, good athlete, just 6'6" and 225, but I think he's going to make his presence felt too. I'm not as down on Gulf Coast as you are. I don't think they're going to win necessarily this region either, but I think they're going to kind of punch above their weight a little bit. I think they're kind of be there in the middle. That said, I certainly don't see them as being a title contender, even if I don't think they're going to be quite at the bottom either. And I'll tell you about, before I sort of throw out who I think is going to be my favorite to win this all, let me give you 2 players who I think are going to be absolutely key to their team's hopes this year to see if they're either at that top of the mountain or if they're struggling down at the bottom when this is all over. And for me, those 2 guys, first one on the Indy Stripes, and that is Reza Red. Watched him last year as a talented 15-year-old. I think he is the key to the Stripes, who have some real talent otherwise. No bigger one than Dylan Harper. Going to come in here for a year before he moves on to college, but Harper, 6'5", do-it-all guard wing kind of player. And look, other players too. JJ Hoops is here. We've seen Hoops some in the offseason. Excited to see what he brings to the real games. Lath Money, good solid forward. Jarrell Thrash, I think, will turn out to be a really solid forward piece for these guys too. But I think if Reza can really kind of live up to what we hoped he'd be last year when he was obviously still just a raw 15-year-old. If he can kind of turn that around this season, I think that the Stripes are going to be well above 500. Coach Shirogane going to have a nice team on his hands here, and maybe even Dylan Harper, a player of the year kind of candidate. But it really does come down to Reza. There's not much behind him. You know, Marcellus Brungo and Jarrell Thrash, 6'7", 220-pounders. You know, and Lath Money, a Reed Thin, 6'8", 180. Those are the bigs behind big old Reza coming in at 6'10", 235. And, you know, if he can turn into a sort of B version, let's say a Trey Hyman or something in Indianapolis this year, I think Indy could be really threatening. I really like the idea of Hoops, Harper, and Reza being the core of this squad. But look, he was 15-year-old last year. He's just 16 this year. If he doesn't make that big leap this year, Indy, much like ATL, is a team that is going to have some trouble in the post, I think. And they could easily be down at the bottom in the same way they could be fighting at the top. I really do think it kind of comes down to Reza Red. And then there's one other player, also a big man, who I think are the two most key players, along with Reza Red, to their team's fortunes this year. And that is with Yacht Club. Talented squad, but I think the young man, Josiah Cook, just 15, a 6'11", 220-pounder, good defender. Once again, a case where Yacht Club behind him, you know, they've got the experienced Sean Isham at 6'9", 220 pounds, but that's it. You know, Xavier Pope is the next biggest player on this team at 6'6", 210, and he's a wing. You know, we've all watched Xavier play before. Yacht Club, if Josiah Cook turns out to be a paint monster, I think they could do a lot of damage, just like Indy. If he doesn't live up to the billing, I could see Yacht Club struggling all year long. So those are my two kind of most key guys in this region, Reza Red and Josiah Cook.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just in general, there's a key guy on every team, obviously. There's a key guy on every team that I think could make or break their ceiling. And obviously for the Yacht Club, for me, well, Indy Stripes, I agree. Reza Red, I don't want to say that he underperformed last season, because that whole situation in Indy was terrible. That was a team that should have been, I think they should have been a top 3 team. They had so much talent, so much talent, and their coach just wasn't getting it done, wasn't putting the players in the right positions, wasn't listening to his players when he probably should have. Reza Red should have been in that conversation with Trey Hyman and Arthur Lattimore as one of the top bigs in SimWorld Prep. And we still talk about him a lot because of his potential. That's why people still talk about Ben Simmons, his potential. He has the potential to be one of the best players in the NBA, but we haven't seen that all put together yet. But I think, again, for me, please do not, I'm not comparing Reza Red to Ben Simmons, because for me, Reza Red, it was a coaching situation. Ben Simmons, it's a personal situation for him. So I think Reza Red will be able to step up. For the Yacht Club, I do agree as well. It has to be Cook that really steps up. With my groupings of the teams, obviously for me, the clear bottoms are AT Aliens and Gulf Coast. I feel like I don't think there's a clear-cut winner in the Southern region. I think there are so many question marks on all of the teams. I personally don't necessarily think Southeast Select is going to finish in the top 3 of the Southern region. They could, but obviously the loss of Trey Turner is a lot, and I don't think they did anything to replace that. Gabe Pope is still there. Gabe Pope is a great player. Gabe Pope isn't Trey Turner when it comes to shooting. He's going to be a good shooter, but he's not Trey Turner. I need to know where they're going to replace that 3-point prowess that they had on that team last season, and I don't see it right now. They have the size, which is something that really has helped them out for 2 seasons now. Well, I can't remember how big they were in the Ground Zero season, but season 1, obviously having 3 6'10" guys, that was a mismatch for anybody playing against them. But I think Southeast Select is going to struggle a little bit this year. I think the Yacht Club is going to struggle a lot this year. They didn't replace Adam Max, and Adam Max was such a big part of the post game for them, or the paint game for them, because of how big he was and just how he was able to get what he wanted. When he came back, that changed the Yacht Club. They have 3 of the top guards in SimWorld Prep in Cruz, Pope, and why am I drawing a blank? I think Trey Willis. That's who. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah,
Trey Willis, Xavier Pope, and De'Aaron Cruz. They are 3 of the top guards in SimWorld Prep. But you can have all these little guys. This isn't the NBA. This isn't Golden State. This isn't you need more than just really good guard play. Especially when you start going up against the teams that are good defensively, like Southeast Select. My concern with Southeast Select is the offensive output. Indy Stripes, I can see them winning the Southern region. I can see them sitting in the middle of the pack. Dylan Harper is obviously a huge part of that team now. He is going to be the main guy, or he should be the main guy. If he's not the main guy, then the Indy Stripes are going to struggle. Reza Red, like you mentioned, Lath Money. I think JJ Hoops, we don't talk about him enough. I think that he's a really good player. I think that he's going to contribute early. He's probably, I would say, their number 3 guy on this team this season. And I think again, my struggle is I'm going to include Lone Star, H-Town, Queen City, Indy, the Yacht Club, and Southeast Select. They're all in a group for me that none of them stand out for different reasons. So I can't for sure say there is a favorite going in. Queen City Kings.
Well, interesting.
They have a ton of talent. Go ahead.
No. I thought you were building up to like a big reveal, and instead the reveal is that you don't like any of these teams to win the division.
Yeah, I think there are 6. I think there are 6 teams that can win the division, and none of them at this point are in a position for me to say yes for sure they are going to win this division. I think it is a 6-team race. Queen City Kings, ton of talent. Most of the talent are players that Skinny Washington already had with Heartland Zombie, and we're going to stick on. I'll be stuck on that until he proves otherwise. Obviously, he brought in Nick Hugo. To add Nick Hugo to Carter Fields and Renzo Bryant is huge.
It is
one of your favorites in the off season, Cairo Windsor. He's going to do a lot for them. They added DeMontre Johnson and Marco Jacobs, and I think the key here though is Coach Washington going to get out of Sky Durant what we seen last offseason? Because I think that he, in my opinion, should be a top 3 3-point shooter in SimWorld Prep. We didn't see that last season. We seen it in the offseason. No. He was absolutely dominant in the offseason last year, and then he just kind of got shuffled to the back.
We've got some off seasons in the books here too. We know not to necessarily trust every last thing that you see in that off season.
Absolutely.
Well, so if you kind of have like this big group, I have it a little bit different. And look, I've talked a little bit about Yacht Club, how I think they have a key player. Indy, how I think they have a key player. AT Aliens, I expect to be down. Gulf Coast, I've talked a little bit about. Go to the remaining teams. First of all, throw Southeast Select out there. I think Southeast Select is going to be good. I will say that. I think they're going to be above 500. I mean, look, they still have a lot of players. They got some good players returning from last year, certainly including Pope, certainly including the big men, Stack and Baldridge. Coco Bryce, good player. Can't wait to see him get a little bit more run out there. And I like the players they brought in too. Yeah. Look, Coach Brad Lee has made 2 championship games in 2 seasons. You got to give it to him. I expect Southeast to be good. I don't necessarily expect them to win this division, however. The 2 Texas teams, we haven't talked too much about them yet. H-Town Hoopers and Lone Star. H-Town, basically, I think is my bronze medalist in this region. I expect them to finish about 3rd, but I got to say, in some ways, They're the ones I'm looking forward to watching the most. This team is going to bruise and batter people. They're going to look like, the 88 Pistons or something out there, I think. Look at their bigs. Tyrell Thompson, Maury Washington, Corey Yams. These are like 6'9" guys, and they're all 250, 240 pounds. They're just bumpers out there. Then you got guys too, Vincent Magic and Keith and Carter coming back, J-Mo coming over. All of those guys are really good athletes, and they've added some nice new pieces. Almighty Soul, the Sun God, just 15, but a lot of talent coming on the team. And probably in terms of talk to talent ratio, Hashan Pendergrass is maybe the biggest outlier in the SimWorld game. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk to him about him at all. I don't remember seeing a single article this offseason. But this 16-year-old from Georgia, he's going to make ET Aliens regret that he went out of state. I promise you that. He is super, super talented. I like throwing him in the mix too. H-Town is going to be good. They're going to be tough every night. I'm not sure they have enough shooting. That'd be my one little bit of concern for them, and that might be why I dropped them below my first and second place teams. And my second place team is the other Texas club, Lone Star Basketball Club. And I almost think like what people are forgetting is what they are bringing back, because they had a total changeover. Coach Duncan Woods of Lone Star, but they are bringing back Nene Gibson and Mason Green. And that is a really good inside-outside combo. Nene Gibson, probably a top 10, top 15, not worse than top 20 player in the league this year, I would say. And then, of course, look at all the new guys brought in. Arthur Lattimore and Ronnie Shanahan, Aiden Weaver as well, all transferred in. So veterans coming home to, well, Aiden Weaver's case, Alabama, but for Ronnie Shanahan, Lattimore, this is back home to Texas. As well as some real talent in Moreau Don, Trey Bird, Kenyon Young, some other new players brought in. So good mix of upperclassmen, underclassmen, good mix of inside-outside talent. Lattimore is going to anchor this thing in the post, but Mason Green, underrated, and Kenyon Young, I'm excited to watch what he can do. I think he's going to bring something out there. Lone Star is a really complete team, I think. And I think that they are going to be incredibly competitive. But at the end of the day, I do think they are going to be second best in this southern region. And that is because the Queen City Kings, you were just talking them up, your last little segment there, Bob. And yeah, I mean, first of all, I got to pick this team because Cairo Windsor's on it, and there's no bigger Cairo Windsor fan in America than your man E Lava right here. But no, he is special. I don't care that he's 15. He could play pro right now, in my opinion. I really can't wait to have Cairo unleashed on the world. But Carter Fields and Nick Hugo in the paint is going to be pretty dynamic, I think. I think they're going to have enough in terms of size and skill to hang with the teams that can throw some really big players out there. And in this region, that probably is H-Town. And to a lesser degree, Lone Star that can kind of bang like that. And I think Queen City can bang right there with them. But then, some really talented guard play on this team too. Renzo Bryant, obviously, in there. Xavier Bryant, nice big wing. Sky Durant, talented wing, brought home to North Carolina for this year. And, Demontre Johnson, some new faces out there too. There's some young kids. Coach Skinny Washington. It's an interesting QCK team in that the future is now, but the future is also bright. Daquan Holton, Cairo Windsor, not Marco Jacobs, he's just 16 though. Demontre Johnson, all three 15-year-olds. But then, you've got Carter Fields, Nick Hugo, Sky Durant, and Renzo Bryant, a 17-year-old upper-class core as well. I like the way the pieces fit together on this squad. I like some of the individual players to really kind of break out this year. I like what I see when I look at the Queen City Kings lineup, and they are my favorites to finish top of the Southern region in Season 2 in SimWorld.
Yeah, like I said, they are one of my 6 favorites, so we'll see. I do think Renzo Bryant has taken a big step this offseason. I've seen some scrimmages, not only for his team, but in some of the recruiting scrimmages that were held earlier in the offseason, and he's really taken a step forward in his game. I think he's taken a big jump. I expect Bryant to be a top 10 player if he continues to improve, or if he shows what he showed in some of the scrimmages that I've seen of him. He's going to be a top 10 player. And again, the talent is there on Queen City. I think there's more talent on Queen City than any of the other teams in the Southern region. I want to see it put together on the court with Coach Washington at the helm. And I'm going to hold Heartland Zombies against him a little bit until we see otherwise.
No, that's not unfair. Hey, people you gotta own your track record, and past performance doesn't always predict future results, as every financial commercial will tell you. But it means something.
Absolutely. So. Well, E, I appreciate you as always. Is there any final words you want to say to the people?
No, I hope you're enjoying your NFL Sunday, and I hope you're getting pumped up for SimWorld out there. We are 2.5 weeks away from opening night, so get ready for that, folks.
It's coming up out of nowhere. If you're not already, make sure you're following us at SimWorld 4K on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. And if you're not on Discord already, discord.gg/SimWorld Hoops. But I appreciate, again, you, E, as always, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend.
We will see you, folks.